presented by Horns and Hooves Entertainment. You are watching Buffalo After Dark.
Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is Wednesday night, March 23rd. Of course, you've got all of us here, and we're going to be here for at least the next hour, so we're happy to see you. Of course, myself, Tom, I'm back. Nice to be back here. Bob, and of course, we got Mr. Bubba Matt and Luffy. How's everything going?
I banged Bobby's mom.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you back, Tom. Fucking asshole, and leaving me out right there.
My own boss now, basically, so it's all good.
Yeah, I know. Well, hopefully, because we love you, we miss you, but bottom line, man, is you got to do what you got to do, and that's the best thing we can do.
Yep, absolutely. And I got coffee for the show tonight, so.
You're gonna need a lot more than that. I hope we have plenty of caffeine wrapped up.
Oh yeah. Well, I finally moved into the 21st century and got myself a Keurig. So,
oh damn! Really?
Shit, isn't it wonderful?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Literally brew it in less than a minute, and everything is all perfect.
Oh goody.
Sean, how's it going? I know you had that Giordano trade going on.
I did, along with a whole bunch of different trades, and in exchange, getting a total of just over 30 draft picks for the next 3 draft shows. So the Kraken cleaned house, basically, starting from square one.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We'll take good care of Giordano. Don't worry.
Yeah. By taking care of
and Colin Blackwell.
By taking care of, he means that the Leafs will choke in the first round of the playoffs again.
Hey, why are we even talking about this?
I'm just saying, it's just a stereotype.
Just a stereotype of a team that can't make the fucking playoffs. Okay.
Luffy, how's it going, man? You were out over on that big crane earlier.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting day. The biggest crane in North America. I was just hanging out around the crane. It was fucking good times. Fun day.
Yeah. Hey, you smoking anything good for us tonight?
You know what? I just hooked up my vape. So I'll be hitting some Northern Lights Kush here throughout the show. So if I cough, don't be alarmed.
It's all good. Of course, you guys know the deal. Of course, we've got the Facebook live chat going on tonight. And of course, you guys can call in 929-209-6055. We'll get you on here. We'll be on for at least the next hour. And let's get started. We had a lot of crazy trades going on. But of course, Bobby, we'll let you do the nice little honors. NFL or NHL? What do you want to talk about first?
Let's take the NFL first. Let's talk about the NFL. I mean, the NHL first, because I think the NFL, got to build up the suspension. That's what I think.
Okay. All right, whatever.
What were we going to say, Adam?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was going to say, since we all saw each other on March 16th and Sean had a fucking mental breakdown on last week's show when the Kraken traded Cal Yarncroc, he kind of just threw a bitch fit on live yesterday or last week, whatever it was called. And he finally is now starting to figure out what the hell are the Kraken doing. It is officially the point of tanking, as we like to call it here, and holding on to assets for future, players and stuff like that. So I think that's where we all last met up. But let's talk about the first trade happened after the show, which was on March 18th, which was on Friday. The big trade that happened between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that is that the Chicago Blackhawks acquired two first-round picks, one in 2023 and one in 2024, and they also acquired 2 prospects, Boris Katchouk and Taylor Radish, from the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for forward Brandon Hagel. Thoughts?
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. You just way overpaid for a fucking half-ass dumb shit player that's not consistent worth a fuck.
Well, I mean, Tampa's got his contract for at least another 2 years or so before they have to pay him. I mean, if you're paying 2 first-round picks and 2 prospects for a guy in his mid-20s, that's a pretty big price to pay. And I have never seen the Tampa Bay Lightning make a big overpay like this ever in my life. I've seen crazier shit, like Chris Pronger being traded for 2 firsts to the Oilers from there to the Ducks, and they won a Stanley Cup, so it didn't matter. But the bottom line is though, I think Tampa Bay overpaid big time for this guy. What do you guys think?
I think Luffy might have sent him a little bit of that Northern Lights Kush with how that trade went.
Yeah, that's no. That's more like methamphetamines, dude. That's like you're smoking the bad shit. You're hitting that pipe hardcore when you're making a deal like that because whoever fucking came up with that is an absolute retard.
I'm guessing they probably threw a little bit of crack in there too.
Well, yeah, all the bad
Really
shit. Probably a little bit of fentanyl, some fucking black tar heroin. I don't know.
Yeah, bath salts. That'll keep
Oh
them
my
up for like 3 days.
That to me is like you're reaching really really badly. If you, 'cause I don't know what Tampa's trying to do. They're trying to keep relevant for as long as they can before they fall off the fucking radar. But if you're gonna dump 2 first-round picks, it better be for a better player than Hagel.
Yeah,
The
and Hagel
fuck is
hasn't
wrong with you?
done much at all.
No, he's not proven, dude. He's not tried and tested. He's fucking nobody.
Yeah, I really don't know what Tampa was doing with those 2 assets. If it was like 1 first-round pick, I probably would have been like, okay, that's a bit of a gamble. But 2 first-round picks, that's way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's way too much. And how much is he making in salary wise though? If for that kind of value, like how much is he making in salary?
I don't know. Whatever it is too much.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bit of an overpay. So, Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what they were thinking. It wasn't worth it. Let's just call it like it is. It was not worth it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole 3-peat thing, but is it really worth 2 first-round picks for 1 player?
No, especially
I wouldn't have been.
that
You know what? I thought for sure, to be honest, that Kane was going to go to the Lightning, and I thought, no, they're going to overpay for Patrick Kane, or take Jonathan Tays, or something like that, something stupid like that. But I don't know. I didn't think it was going to be Brett. Well, my God, I can say his name without laughing because it's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, but there's one thing we could say about the Tampa Bay Lightning is that they really know how to work the salary cap. They're already over the cap, and the salary cap, and you can apply this to in the NFL, is that the salary cap is a fucking myth. So it doesn't matter who you're paying for, as long as those players can put up, top-notch numbers for your club in order to make a production in the playoffs. And for Chicago, in my opinion, to give up that much or to get rid of Brad Hagel, and they should have never have traded him in the first place because people really fell in love with him. And it's just like, he could have been a really nice piece for you going forward. But unfortunately, they don't see it that way. But the return they got for him, I definitely think long-term Chicago wins this trade.
Well, fuck, dude. They're probably just like, you know what, we like you and all, but they just gave us their farm, so we're gonna fucking take that. And sorry, you gotta go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom, what do you think? Who do you think won that trade?
Well, Tampa lost that trade straight up.
Yeah. So, Sean, I'm assuming that you think Chicago wins this trade as well, or do you think Tampa won?
No, Chicago definitely.
Yeah. Short term, I think Tampa wins, but long term, Chicago wins big time. So, yeah. So look. Yeah, and then immediately afterwards, on March 19th, the Ducks made not 1 but 2 trades, one with Minnesota and one with Boston. And that was on March 19th. They made a trade with the Wild in which they sent forward Nick Delorier to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a 2022 third-round pick. Thoughts?
Smart.
Yeah, not an overpay by any means, and Delorier is worth about a third, so I mean that part's good. And then on top of it, I mean, having seen Delorier play in person, I mean, basically he's going to help toughen up that line a little bit. He's not afraid to throw the gloves and hit people. It's going to help the Wild be a little more physical, especially down low and in the corners. So I'm totally fine with that third round going back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's well, I'll say the same. He's a gritty fucking player, and that's what the Wild are lacking, grit and size in certain aspects. So in the playoffs, you want a player like that. So it's good trade by Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest. I think the Ducks win this trade only because, to my opinion, I think the Wild could have paid a little bit less cheaper. I think they could have gotten him for a 4th or a 5th, but instead they traded a 3rd-round pick to the Ducks. So I think for them to get that high of a pick, I think for Anaheim is a win. because then they can flip it for other assets.
But dude, if they didn't take him, someone else was waiting to take him. So he's a grinder, dude. And so like grinders is what you want in the playoffs.
Right. I mean, and I could name like any number of teams that would have probably wanted to go after him. I mean, especially if you're looking at besides Minnesota. I mean, think about Dallas. Think about Vegas. I mean, think about Florida. They're on a resurgence right now. I mean, any one of those teams absolutely would have been knocking on the door. So the fact that they ended up going for the third, I think is fair compensation for it.
Yeah, I think the Leafs were even looking at him too. There was a lot of teams looking at him.
Right. Sean, what do you think of that trade?
And I gotta agree with both sides. Yeah, on one hand, Anaheim did win, but on the other hand, if the Wild didn't take him, then more than likely someone else will, and there wouldn't have been another chance for Minnesota.
Right, which makes sense. But if you guys had a winner, who do you think wins that trade? And then we'll move on to the next one.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Minnesota?
I would have to say Minnesota. They get short-term and long-term value for it.
Yeah. What about you, Sean? Anaheim or Minnesota? Who do you think won the trade?
Yeah, I think Minnesota. I mean, yeah, they had to pay a bit more, but I think I think they believe it was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the lone wolf in this, but I'm going to say Anaheim wins this one long term because, again, I think that they could have gotten less for like a fourth or a fifth for Delorier, but they ended up paying a third. So I think with that reasoning, I think the Ducks win that trade for the long term deal. So who knows?
Except for like Minnesota's farm system isn't that great, and your picks are not going to be that great. So
Well, yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I think Anaheim can use that pick long term, and they can either draft someone with that from like the juniors or like from the WHL or from another league, or they can trade it and get maybe like a top notch defenseman to fill in some holes in the offseason. That's what I think they should do.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what I think why Anaheim wins. So speaking of the Ducks, because we're still staying on them, is on the same day, 10 minutes after making the Delorier trade, we got a notification, and boy, oh boy, did this escalate quickly. And that was a trade between the Anaheim Ducks and the Boston Bruins. And the trade was defenseman Hampus Lindholm, along with prospect Cody Curran, who's not even going to be in the NHL anytime soon. He was just a throw-in. So Hampus Lindholm and Cody Curran are being traded to the Boston Bruins in exchange for a 2022 first-round pick, a 2023 second-round pick, and a 2024 second-round pick, prospect Euro Bekanainen, and defenseman John Moore. So all in all, let's discuss this trade. Oh, and one last thing, just a kick in the balls. Right after the Bruins traded for Lindholm, they extended him to an 8-year deal with an estimate of $6.5 million on Sunday. So just a few days after they traded for him, they extended him like that. And they extended him to what, like $64 million for the next 8 years?
Like this, cha-ching! That was a good payday.
Well, there's this is like a double-edged sword because I don't agree with 8-year deals. I think they're dumb, and obviously Anaheim is going to get a good couple picks out of this. Other than what else they got, absolute garbage. But they're picks, good picks. But in my mind, I feel like Boston is the winner on this because you have a really good defenseman that's going to be with you guys for as long as a decade or more. He has at least 10 more good years in him, and to me, he's worth every fucking dollar. He's not worth an 8-year contract, but he's worth every fucking penny.
Right. I mean, I love what Boston got back in return. I mean, and that's going to help them. And you're getting a good defenseman that can go in the playoffs, and he's been pretty durable at the same time. So, like you were saying, Adam, I mean, he's probably got at least a good 10 years left on him. I mean, would I have gone for
in his prime, dude? In his prime
Yeah,
for a defenseman, look in his prime, he's got 10 years, dude.
Yeah, and that's huge. So then on top of that, do I agree necessarily with an 8-year deal on him? I mean, I understand the logic that they wanted to lock him up as long as possible, but do I think it should have been maybe more like a 6-year or something? Okay, yeah, that might have made more sense. But in this case, Boston had to do what they needed to do to lock him up long term. I don't blame them for doing that. Great move.
I just
help them in the playoffs.
And I mean too, like if it was me, and I'm not the GM of the Boston Bruins, but I would have offered more like a 5-year deal, because after 3 years, if it's not working out, you can ship him off and somebody else can eat his fucking cap, right?
Right.
So to me, 5 years would have made more sense, more like a $40 million contract. You get your value, and if he starts to decline, then you fucking ship him off somewhere else.
Well, right, you're not stuck with it, which
Yeah.
big
And
thing.
if he really doesn't pan out, then they're gonna have to buy him out in less than 3 years if there's an
Dude, I
opt-out.
have no doubt in my mind that he's going to work out. Look what he's done for Anaheim. Like, he's a stellar fucking defenseman.
Yeah, he's one of the better defensemen in the league right now.
Yeah,
and he's
and not to
he's a
mention-
puck moving defenseman, and he's really good at pinching. He's really good. He's really good at doing all aspects of his fucking job. So I don't think it's a lose for Boston. I maybe wouldn't have gave up the first. I probably would have offered like a couple seconds out of the third or something like that. But I wouldn't give up a first. But you know what? Someone else would have. Same with another trade, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice
I
upgrade
mean-
for Boston too. I mean, it gets them another defenseman, but the fact is, I mean, he can move the puck, he can do things offensively, and on top of that, I mean, you're getting that someone that's not afraid to go in and make something happen. So, I mean, I like it. It's a good move for him.
Right.
I fucking hate the Bruins, but that's a good trade in my mind.
Absolutely. But Sean, what is your insight on that trade for Anaheim and Boston with Hampus Lindholm?
Well, first things first, screw the Bruins, but
Fuck the Bruins.
hey, I'm a New Yorker, all right? I'm biased when it comes to them.
Good, you hate him just like we do.
But
What do you mean you don't like people from Boston?
Boston.
I hate their sports teams. But anyway, at the same time, I do like what the Bruins did with the trade. But yeah, again, I agree with Adam that I don't agree with the whole 8-year thing. I think it should have been at least 5 years, if anything.
I agree with that. I think it should be no more than 5, because if he doesn't perform in within the last 3 years, you buy out the last 2 years of their contract. I think that's going to be something that's going to be discussed within the new CBA in less than a year and a half from now. But who the hell knows? Because they just extended the current one. But who knows? But we'll see what happens. But one thing I will say is, though, Anaheim, well, they got a ransom in return for Lindholm. I will say, though, is that the Ducks' future with these picks are actually really bright. And I mean, it doesn't look like that entirely, but you have to look at it from the ground up, because the Ducks now have 2 first-round picks, and they can use those picks easily within just flipping in, or they can use it to draft another high-end prospect. So there's a lot of potential there for the Ducks with all those picks. But with the Bruins, you got Hampus Lindholm playing alongside with my guy, Charlie McAvoy, because let's be honest, he's a Long Island guy. He's from Long Beach. He's from my neck of the woods. And he's the only player on the Bruins I respect with, like, all my life. I actually like Charlie McAvoy with the Bruins here. But as far as the long-term effects, I definitely think Boston wins that trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's a nice defensive tandem right there too.
Uh-huh.
Well, plus, man, like, you know what? You got to give Boston fucking credit for their management, because even after all these years, they're staying relevant. Even when they look old, they're still staying relevant, because he's still bringing in key pieces at key times. It's smart fucking management, man.
Yeah, and they've been good with that for a long time now. I mean, that hasn't changed. I mean, even when you look at when they had Chara and some of their other guys, I mean, they moved out certain pieces when they needed to, but then they also got good assets in return, and that's what.
But they stay relevant, dude. They stay relevant. They still have guys that came in when Chara was at the end of his prime, like Pasternak, and fucking everybody can hate Brad Marchand, but he's still fucking good, and you wish you had him on your fucking team. So.
Yeah, I mean, Marchand's somebody I would love to have that on the Sabres right now, is someone that can go in there and just piss everybody off and take care of business. So
yeah, absolutely.
And you bar down and still have the best centerman in the fucking league, the best space opportunities of any player in the fucking league. So
yeah,
Yeah. So let's go around the table. So we have our winners. So I'm gonna take Boston for this one. Yeah. What do you think, Adam?
Taking Boston.
You taking Boston? Sean, what about you? Anaheim or Boston in that one?
I'm going with Boston on this one, as much as I can't stand them.
All right. And Tom, what about you?
100% Bruins win that trade all day, every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And they extended him. So I think that was worth it. But let's see how they do in less than 3 years.
Yep.
All right. And the next one is probably one of the bigger players that was available this year's trade deadline is Claude Giroux. And a lot of people said he was either going to go to the Colorado Avalanche or the Florida Panthers. And it turns out the winner of the Claude Giroux sweepstakes was the Florida Panthers. And the trade result that the Flyers got back for him is very underwhelming. So we're going to look at that right now. So, so on March 19th, the same day Lindholm got traded, the Philadelphia Flyers traded longtime captain Claude Giroux along with Connor Bunnaman, who was an AHL player, to the Florida Panthers in exchange for Owen Tippett, a 2024 first-round pick, and a 2023 third-round pick. And I think there was another player that was added in the deal in the very last minute, but I forget.
Yeah,
but I think that's what is it?
German Rubtsov.
That's it. German Rubtsov. That was the guy. He never panned out for Philly, and he was a first-round pick in 2016 by the Flyers. But anyway, so let's talk about this trade. Let's go around the room. So, Tom, start us off. Drew to the Panthers.
It's going to help Florida. I mean, they've been quietly becoming one of the better teams, especially down in the South. And I mean, you're getting a proven player in Giroux. Bunnaman is someone that can grow with the team. Rubtsov, maybe change of scenery can help. But the big win is Claude Giroux. I mean, you're getting a proven leader and a proven captain.
Absolutely. Adam, what about you?
Well, like Tom said, you get what you're paid for. You got a player that's proven year after year that he's fucking the real deal. He's no pushover. And plus, I think the only reason the Avalanche didn't grab him up was the fact they were scared of his contract. And if you look at his contract, it is a bit fucked. So I think that was the thing that scared him off the most. And Florida had more room basically to take him on. So it was either going to be them or Colorado. And it was a coin toss, basically. He'd see who was going to pay more. But, you know, for what they paid, I really think it was a steal. I think the Panthers got away with murder on that one.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Giroux's contract right now. Giroux is a UFA after this season, and he's making about $4.137 million right now. So $4.137 million until the end of the summer. So he's a UFA. But the thing is, I don't think the Panthers will have the money to sign him because they have other.
That's what I mean. I think he's going to be a rental, and I guarantee you his next contract is going to double. So
yeah, we'll see. I don't think he goes back to Philadelphia. I mean, I know he had a lot of memories there, but I don't see him at this point in his career going back to the Philadelphia Flyers. So we'll see what happens. So, John, what do you think of the trade with Claude Giroux?
I like what Florida did, having Giroux on their team, and it's definitely gonna improve for them. And they got themselves a known veteran, and I think it's going to pay off for them.
Like they need the fucking help or anything.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Panthers on paper, they have probably the best fourth line center forwards in the National Hockey League, hands down. I mean, look what they got: Sam Reinhart, Alexander Barkov, Jonathan Huberdeau, Patrick Hornqvist, Sam Bennett, Claude Giroux, Anthony Duclair, Noel Arechi, Carter Van Hagel. And then you look at their defense: Anton Lundell, you have Mason Marchment, Joe Thornton, and you have Brandon Montour, Mackenzie Weegar, Gustav Forsling, Rado Gudas. Holy shit. And then you have Spencer Knight, who is going to be up and coming soon. And then you have Sergei Bobrovsky. So the Florida Panthers. Oh, and I forgot to mention the other trade, which was fucking Ben Sherratt, which we talked about last week because that was on last week's episode. But if you look at the Florida Panthers alone, this roster alone, just the offense by itself, is good enough to win a Stanley Cup.
Absolutely. And they've been quietly stacking their offense and rebuilding the defense over the last 5 seasons. If we look at what Florida has done, especially over the last 3 years, I mean, they're easily they could be cup contenders. I mean, they've got a great offense and a great defense to go with it.
The only thing that's going to bother them in the long run is having Aaron Ekblad on LTIR. So
yeah, but they're saying that Ekblad should be ready by the time the playoffs start.
Right. Again,
I doubt it.
Entire different dimension.
Yeah, I mean, once you get Aaron Ekblad back, the Florida Panthers are set.
Yeah, they could make it easily a long run in the playoffs, and they could.
I still think Colorado's better, but
Yeah, we'll find out come springtime. But as for the Flyers, I'm gonna be honest. I am not impressed with their return. I'm really not. Owen Tippett hasn't panned out too well, and he's been in the Florida Panthers system for like what 3 years, 4 years,
Yeah.
and then a first round pick, which is not going to mean shit in 2 years, and then a third round pick in 2023. Like, what the hell are the Flyers doing? Shouldn't you be building for right now?
They don't have the money to pay him next season. They had to let him go now. They don't have the fucking money to pay him.
Right.
Like what the fuck are the Flyers even thinking? I mean, the only thing they got going on forward is, I mean, I understand the idea behind the trade, but it doesn't help the fact that, like, if you look on Cap Friendly, the Flyers cap hit right now is $83.644 million, and the projected cap is under $1 million. So, I'm sorry, under 500,000. Excuse me. So, all in all, though, like if you look at the Flyers in general, cap wise, they're fucked long term. And then having these assets, it's just like there's like no way around this whatsoever. Like Philadelphia is screwed. And the worst part about all this is JVR is not a UFA who makes $7 million until 2023. So he's a free agent until that point. Cam Atkinson, same thing. He's making $5.5 million until 2025. Same with Travis Konecny. So if I'm the Flyers and you're going to be dedicated or committed to a full-on rebuild, you're going to have to blow up the rest of the team later this summer. I mean, this is literally the direction the Philadelphia Flyers are going in.
Yeah.
Dude, they should have,
raped on that trade.
They should have, like, dude, one thing that Philly needs to get rid of is Carter Hart. He's a bum.
You know, it's kind of funny because I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, well, is Carter Hart really worth extending or keeping around long term? Because what if he, like, the thing I have about Carter Hart is, what if Philadelphia trades him? Oh, sorry. What happens if Philadelphia were to trade him to, let's say, like a team that needs a goalie? Let's say, for as an example, like just picking out of a hat, like Edmonton. Like Edmonton needs a goalie, right? So what if you trade Carter Hart there and then he turns into a beast? Then what are you going to do? Then the Flyers are going to look really silly.
Right.
Dude, I don't think so. I think he's had his chance to prove himself. He's had many fucking good defensemen in front of him, and he hasn't proven himself. He move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's better to do it now than wait.
I mean, being a starting goalie in Philadelphia is like goalie hell. It's the equivalent in baseball terms of being a starting pitcher for the Rockies. Like that's literally how bad this is.
Okay, like try being a goalie in the with the Leafs. That's hell.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, the Leafs. It's like a goalie carousel. But look, the point is like Philadelphia. I feel like they got the assets for it, but to me, it's not impressive. Maybe in like 2 years it'll be impressive. But the way the Flyers set themselves up long term, it's just not a good look for them long term. And plus, Chuck Fletcher's the GM, and he fucks up everything he touches. So I'm not that surprised that the Flyers.
It just boils down to here's the number one thing. The number one thing, the reason they didn't keep Claude Giroux was the fact they could not afford him, and they had to get rid of him. That was the only option.
Yeah. What do you think, Sean, of the trade from the Flyers in?
Yeah, I think the Flyers shot themselves in the foot. I mean, it doesn't really get any worse than that for them right now. I mean, sheesh.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking shitty. But the bottom line is, for the winner of that trade, hands down, Florida. Florida won hands down, even if it's a record.
I agree.
Unanimous.
Yep, absolutely. And Florida was not done on the 20th because the Buffalo Sabres made a trade with Florida. And basically, Robert Hagg is going to the Panthers in exchange for a 6th round pick in the 2022 draft.
Yeah, I mean, that to me was nothing. I kind of expected Hagg to be traded, but I didn't think he was going to go to Florida. I really thought he was going to go to like St. Louis or Pittsburgh. But Florida's a good place for him. I mean, it makes sense with Aaron Ekblad being on LTIR. So,
yeah, good depth signing.
You know,
that's the only reason he went there. The only reason.
Yeah.
The only reason. But you know what? Good for him because the Panthers are set to win a cup at this point. And if you get Aaron Ekblad back, as he's had as a history now of being injury prone as a top-notch defenseman, I mean, yeah, he's way too injury prone in my opinion. But we'll see down the road. But the bottom line is, I think this is a good return for Buffalo. I think it's fair. They could have gotten a 5th, but I think 6th is fine.
Yeah, and it's still something they can always package it in a deal, or they can always try to flip something for it. So, I mean, not a bad deal on either side.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, there's a lot going on. So I definitely think Florida wins that trade. So that should not even take too long to talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely. And then of course the 20th kept being busy as well. And one of the other trades that came up, the Ottawa Senators decided to do a trade with the Vancouver Canucks, and the Senators have acquired Travis Hamonic in exchange for a third-round pick in the 2022 draft.
Okay, I gotta get the first opinion on this. My first off comment's gonna be, why are you buying when you should be selling, you fucking idiots?
I'm not surprised by the Ottawa Senators because they really don't know what the fuck they're doing. Plus, Eugene Melnick will just fuck them over one way or the other.
But in all reality though, why the fuck would you be buying at the trade deadline? If anything, you should be getting rid of all your fucking riffraff and the banking picks like Seattle did, because you're garbage. You're absolute fucking garbage. And to me, like, Eugene Melnick is like the joke of the GMs of the league, because he thinks that some reason buying Travis Hamonic. Why? Why do you need him? Why?
It's like I felt
where is he going to get you other than like not getting the first overall draft pick?
Yeah, the only reason I think this trade even happened was because Vancouver needed the dump salary. That's the only reason I think this trade even happened. Otherwise, it's irrelevant.
Yep. No, this is a trade that's just dumb, and anything Ottawa related when they come to buying is dumb.
Right.
Yeah. How much money was Hamonic even making? I mean, if this truly is a salary dump trade, then I give Vancouver a lot of props for that. But let's see, how much was Hamonic making? Hamonic was making $3 million. Okay, so Vancouver was just $1 million under the cap. So they got over the cap. Excuse me. So under. I was right. Yeah. So getting rid of Hamonic frees up $3 million in cap space for the Vancouver Canucks. So for them to do that, I think was pretty smart on their end. But to trade him to the Ottawa Senators, that's the part that doesn't really make much sense to me. But it is what it is.
I think it was just a favor to GM to be like, hey, I got this much cap space. I'll help you out if you help me down the road.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, Jim Rutherford did a hell of a job on that deal. But we'll get to the next Vancouver trade in a few minutes. But Sean, what do you think of the deal? Travis Hamonic for that third-round pick in 2022 from Ottawa and Vancouver.
I didn't think it was necessary for Ottawa to do that, to be honest.
No, they're shit. They're not going to be going anywhere for a while. I love that they brought back their heritage looks, but they're still a shit club, so it doesn't really matter. But bottom line, I think for dumping his salary alone, I definitely think Vancouver gets the win on that one.
Yeah, and Rutherford did a good job on it.
Absolutely. So I think we can all agree on that. Vancouver wins that deal.
Yep.
All righty. So I'm going to leave. Yeah,
Okay,
so I'm going to leave. I was going to say, I'm going to leave this one up, and that is, well, I'll leave the next one for Adam, which is the Toronto Vancouver one, but let's talk about Troy Stecher to the Kings first for a 7th-round pick in 2022 from the Detroit Red Wings.
Detroit's just getting more and more irrelevant.
Yeah, like, oh God, why?
I'm actually surprised. It was like, are they going to finally fire Jeff Blazel for like the absolute crap he's done ever since he took over?
The Red Wings are not going anywhere. No matter who they hire, they're not going anywhere. But I do like the direction they're going in. But as of right now, the Red Wings are fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's not stupid. If you look at it, they're trying to like build picks up. They're trying to do whatever. I don't know. The Wings are like so irrelevant. It's funny, but like they have good players, man. They have a good farm system, so
yeah,
give them time.
Yeah, Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin. So they got some pieces. I mean, they're definitely building a foundation, and I like what the Red Wings are doing because Steve Yzerman is taking the Tampa Bay Lightning approach when he was the GM over there. So I think in less than 3 years, we're going to see a very competitive Red Wings team. But we'll find out. But as for the trade itself, I think LA got some nice depth pieces for their playoff push later this year because the Kings are going to the playoffs regardless. So I think for LA, I think this would be a nice, touch up for them to make it to the run for the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and especially now with Stecher going out there. I mean, the West is a tough conference, so anything you
absolutely
can boost yourselves up, and especially if they're going to be hitting something like Vegas in the first round, or if Vegas even gets in, I mean, they're going to need all the help they can get.
Well, I don't think Vegas is going to make it this year. But, speaking of Vegas, I want to get to them later. But let's get through all this shit first, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah. So I definitely think LA wins that trade, hands down, though.
Yep, agree.
Yeah, LA.
Yep. Sean, do you think LA or Detroit?
LA, hands down.
Okay. I know Adam's got a lot to say about this one, and I'm going to leave him to do the honors. And that is the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks. And that is the Vancouver Canucks have acquired defenseman Travis Dermott from the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for a 2022 third-round draft pick. So, Adam, would you like to do the honors?
Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you for that draft pick that Toronto's going to get for an absolute bomb of defenseman. Maybe he can help Vancouver. He didn't fit in too well with the Leafs. He was always up and down the fucking the pairings. Always couldn't really fit with anybody other than Riley. But when he played with Riley, he couldn't keep up with Riley. So I don't know. I just thank the guy for the fucking pick we got for him. So
Yeah, it's just funny that way how Vancouver was able to get some sort of pick out of this, or Toronto, excuse me, was able to get some sort of pick out of this.
and it's a good pick too. It's not a bad pick. It's actually a good pick.
No, I think it's pretty high too. I mean, I think Vancouver overpaid. I think Dermott should have been traded for at least a fourth, in my opinion. But third, I think is pretty good from Toronto's end. I definitely think that it works in their favor for sure.
It's the third in the first round, dude. It's fucking great.
It's like whatever, you know what I mean? So bottom line is though, what do you guys think, Sean or Tom? What do you guys think of that deal? Travis Dermott to Vancouver for a third.
I think Vancouver overpaid a little bit, and that's honestly not a bad thing. It'll definitely help because I mean, Toronto can use that pick. They can either flip it for other assets. They can use it in part of a package deal. I mean, third round picks are not bad in the draft. And a lot of times, I mean, they'll develop fairly well. So it's going to help them, especially with trying to build on both sides a little bit more. So, I mean, I have no problem with it. Honestly, I'm thinking he was more of a fourth or a fifth potentially, but to get a third round, not a bad deal. So Toronto actually makes up pretty well.
Yeah. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a decent trade. Vancouver getting a third round pick. There was this is saying that I've heard or at least go by sometimes. Like there's no price somebody won't pay to get to improve and all that stuff. So I think Vancouver. Like I said, I like this trade. A decent third round pick for Vancouver, all that and all that stuff.
So you think Vancouver wins that trade?
No, I don't think he realizes the Leafs got the pick, not Vancouver.
Oh crap! I thought it was the other way around. Dang.
So the Leafs got the third for Dermott. Dermott went to Vancouver.
Okay. Shoot. Looking at it now, I think it's a tie. I think both teams got a good. I think both teams won. To be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if I'm picking a winner, I'm definitely picking Toronto just for the fact they got a very high pick for him.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that they got a higher pick than I would have even expected. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't have give a fucking. I wouldn't even give it a fifth for Dermott. I would have given him the fucking puck boy.
Yeah. You could have got a bag of pucks for free for him. That's how bad he is. But
yeah,
it is
I give you a bag of pucks and a couple of bottles of Gatorade.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At minimum, that's what you should have got.
Yep.
Then
we have the next trade, and Sean will get the honors on this one. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Sean
boy.
definitely posted about this on the practice there the other day.
Let me get my notes real quick.
Yeah, so basically one of the big trades of the day, the Toronto Maple Leafs acquired defenseman Mark Giordano, who was the captain of the Kraken, and forward Colin Blackwell in exchange for a second-round pick in the 2022 draft, a second-round pick in the 2023 draft, and a third-round pick in the 2024 draft.
Like I said earlier, man, the Kraken cleaned house. Holy crap. 6 trades and a total of 34 draft picks in return. Like, geez Louise.
But you got a hell of a lot of capital to work with now.
Yeah. That's one good thing. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the perspective of this trade, I think it's a win for both sides because if you look at it from the Toronto Maple Leafs perspective, they desperately needed help on the blue line with Giordano. It doesn't matter if they got him or not, but they desperately needed the help. But for the Kraken, they have to build up for the future. I mean, they're an expansion team, and just like any expansion team in any league, you have to get assets and you have to get picks to flip them for more assets. So for Seattle, I think it really benefits them long term. Giordano was a rental, is a UFA at the end of the year. And plus, if he decides to go back to Seattle, then so be it. He can very well go back. Or hell, he might as well go back to Calgary in the offseason if things don't plan out. And Blackwell was just a throw-in for more salary dumping for the Kraken. So for the long term, I definitely think Seattle not only got more assets, but they were able to dump salary from both of those guys.
Yeah, it's a big win on both sides. And I think actually it works for both clubs because like you're saying, Seattle was able to get rid of salary, so that's good. They ended up getting assets in return, and actually, and what happened is that there was no overpayment on here. I mean, to get the 2 second rounds and the third round, I think was totally fine given who was being traded. And then on top of it, Toronto gets immediate help because they've been having problems with the blue line, as you mentioned. So you're going to have proven vets going in. Giordano will be able to help right away, and on top of it, I mean, it's going to help. It'll help Toronto trying to get in past the first round. So it works on both sides. And Seattle has some good things that they can build on. So a lot of how a lot of expansion teams have gone in the past is that usually like what we're seeing with Seattle is the norm for what we see with an expansion team. Vegas was totally something we've never even seen before with going to the Cup their first year. But what Seattle's doing, though, they're building for their future. They can flip it for assets. They can use it to get players. If Giordano wants to go back at the end of the season, he can go back. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it can go, but I think both clubs work. It works out for both sides. I don't think there is one true winner in this trade. I think both sides actually win it for different reasons.
Right.
Okay. This is my opinion on the matter. I'll say first, right off the hop, we didn't give up a first. That's number one. Secondly, you're forgetting the dark horse in this trade, as in Blackwell, because I really think you're going to be surprised about how good he can be on a third line with some of Toronto's talent. Because if you look at his numbers where he's playing right now, he doesn't have bad numbers. He's a good player,
yeah,
and he's underrated. And I think that people are looking at it the wrong way because if we didn't see something in Colin Blackwell, he wouldn't have been involved in that fucking trade. Toronto fucking scouts don't just take players for the sake of taking players. They take them for a reason. And Colin Blackwell is going to do more for Toronto than probably Giordano will do in his tenure. Like, I feel like he'll be more of the impact player. Giordano will do. I'm not saying I love the fact that Giordano's a Leaf. Actually, if you look at his Twitter and his Instagram and shit, he's happier than a pig and shit to be in Toronto because it's his hometown, dude. He wanted to be here. All his family's there. It makes sense for him. And he's getting towards the end of his career. If he gets another 2-3 year deal, he'll be lucky. But he's happy to be home, and he'll do his job. He always has done his job. He's been a good stay-at-home defenseman for fucking years.
Yep.
But again, if you look at the long term for Toronto's aspect of it, they didn't give up a first rounder. They gave up picks that might pan out. They might not pan out. They're questionables because I'm not saying a second round pick is bad, but when it comes to the Leafs, you could get a fucking Ovechkin, or you could get a fucking Sean Avery. You don't know because the farm team's all over the fucking place. The farm system's fucked basically. But in the long run, I still think the Leafs won on this because you get Giordano and the experience they need on the blue line, plus you get a good third line guy that can help where Toronto needs it, especially in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he definitely brings the veteran, leadership. He brings the experience from being in the playoffs. He's been on some pretty good teams throughout his career with the Calgary Flames, and him to come to Toronto and being from that area, I think it definitely benefits this trade for him. And if he's lucky, like you said, if he gets a 2-year extension, then I definitely think for the short-term deal, Toronto wins that trade. But I think long-term, I think picks to me are worth more in value within the first 3 rounds than what you currently see in today's league. Like, it's not like the Kraken got like a 6th or a 4th for Giordano. No. They got high picks for these guys.
Yeah,
so for me, for me, I think that, like I said, if Toronto is able to give him a 2-year extension at the season's end, I definitely think that they'll win that trade. But long term, I definitely think the Kraken win that one. That's just me. So bottom line, I do think long-term, Seattle Kraken win this one.
Right.
Well, I'll still take the Leafs. I think the Leafs won by far. No one's looked at the Colin Blackwell factor on this because he might be like a nobody to most people, but I can guarantee you he's going to make an impact with the Leafs.
And actually, the games I've watched with the Kraken, I mean, he actually did play pretty well given the fact that they didn't have a whole ton of talent around him.
Yeah. Well, you look at, dude, as soon as he got traded with Giordano, you look at the hate from the Seattle fans. Like, they actually like Colin Blackwell.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So who do you think won the trade, Tom?
Short-term Toronto, long-term Seattle's got some great assets.
Yeah. Sean, what about you? What do you think of the trade?
Yeah, I'm with Tom on this one. I mean, yeah, short-term, maybe Leafs won, but at the same time, you gotta think that the Kraken is building for the future. I mean, this is literally just still their first year in the league ever, and it can't. But I definitely agree. Short term, Toronto won, but long term, Seattle hands down.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna jump around because I want to get to the NFL ones because that was fucking crazy. So we're gonna jump to a big trade that happened. Actually, there's 2 of them on the same. Actually, 3. I'm sorry. There were 3 big trades on this day, and they were both involving the Minnesota Wild. And the big one that happened on March 21st, which was right around lunchtime, midday, was the big one between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Minnesota Wild. Is that goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury is being traded from the Chicago Blackhawks to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a conditional 2nd-round pick. And the condition of the pick is it becomes a 1st-round pick if Minnesota goes to the conference finals or Fleury wins 8 games combined within that track. So the main agenda for Chicago is to have Minnesota go to the conference finals, and it becomes a 1st-round pick. So
yeah, see, this is what I don't agree with because the Leafs were in on Fleury, and the only thing they kind of fucking jumped ship on they made a better deal at Minnesota because I don't know why, but they said to Toronto management that they wanted a 1st, and that was it. They basically wanted what's his name? Kiev or whatever, not Kiev, Kiefer or whatever, one of the Leafs draft picks, and he's a 1st, and they wanted him or nothing basically. So the Leafs said, all right, pound salt, we'll just fucking go with what we have and that'll be it basically.
Yeah. So bottom line though, I mean, Chicago was probably asking for too much, and Toronto said, no, we're not going to do that. So I think the only other option was Washington, but he said no because of his roots with Pittsburgh. But he refused to go to Washington, and he refused to go to Edmonton. So at the end of the day, he ended up going to the Minnesota Wild, who I already think are heavy cup contenders with Colorado in the West. But to add a Fleury, I think could actually boost their confidence going forward in the goaltending situation. But then again, we're talking about a future Hall of Famer. So for Fleury to go to Minnesota, I think it's a good deal. And I also think that Minnesota has arguably the best goalie duo going into the playoffs, in my opinion, with Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot. And I know they're both in their mid-30s, but, Fleury's in his late 30s and Talbot's in his mid-30s, but they both played relatively well together. And I think that Minnesota could make a lot of noise in the playoffs if everything goes according to plan.
I really don't think that that statement you just made about the best goalie tandem in the fucking league. That's Cam Talbot is actually irrelevant in all states of matter. But Fleury, yeah, he's a guy that can get a win for you in the playoffs because he's been there, how many fucking games?
Right.
Like
He's
two.
he's at the end of his career, basically. I mean, he's not as good as he was in his prime. He's still a good goaltender, don't get me wrong, but
he's still consistent. That's all that matters, right?
yeah. And as long as he stays healthy, that's going to be the key thing.
Yeah. Sean, what do you think of the trade? Fleury to Minnesota from Chicago.
I say Minnesota definitely won because they got they got the weapons they need heading into the playoffs, and I think it's gonna help them help them a bit to get further in the postseason. So yeah, I go with the Wild with winning this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, short term, I definitely think Minnesota wins this one, but long term, definitely Chicago. Because that pick's going to last longer than Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So I definitely
think they win a cup.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And then on top of all that, with Marc-Andre Fleury being traded, the Minnesota Wild have decided to trade goalie Kaapo Kähkönen along with a 5th-round pick in 2022 to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for defenseman Jacob Middleton. Thoughts?
I don't know. That's a confusing trade to me. I don't know who gained really much on both sides. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really think either side really gained much out of anything on that.
No, it was kind of a pointless trade.
I agree.
Pointless trade.
I mean, for me, it makes kind of sense because you're not carrying 3 goalies to the playoffs. And I think giving Kähkönen a chance to play, I think really benefits him, considering the Sharks have like no goaltending depth whatsoever. Because I think they have Kaapo Kähkönen and they have James Reimer. I think that's about it. And I keep thinking Martin Jones was on the team, but he got bought out. So I think for him to be at his age, I definitely think that Kähkönen is going to be a pretty decent starter for the Sharks going forward. But I also think that 5th-round pick will definitely help San Jose long term. But I don't really know much about Middleton to begin with because nobody's heard his name until like 3 days ago. I'm just being honest.
Because nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, but I just think it's.
I've never
I just
really
think it's
heard
interesting.
much of him, anyways.
I just think it's interesting considering that Minnesota went all in for Fleury, and then they had to flip Kähkönen to get it done. So that's why I think it was
the only player I was interested in on San Jose was bringing back Optimus Rhyme to the Leafs.
Of course, you would say that because that was your boy back in the day.
Yeah,
Really,
that
what
was my boy.
for Leafs.
Yeah. So, So, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and the last big trade before we get to the good stuff for the NFL is before I get to that, Sean, in your video, I forgot to mention that you forgot to mention the Minnesota Seattle trade with Victor Rask going to the Kraken for future considerations.
Oh shoot.
Yeah,
you forgot to mention that, but that's okay. That's why we're here, right?
I was just going on based on the articles I found. I only read what I told what I read based on the 2 articles that I found, so I didn't know anything about that last one.
Yeah, I sent you a link.
That's another trade, dude. That's another trade that nobody gives a fuck about because it's irrelevant.
Future considerations means you get absolutely crap for it.
Exactly. Like, future consideration of like, you're gonna give us some money when we need it. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah, whatever. All right. Anyway, so the last big trade was between the Winnipeg Jets and the New York Rangers, and that was Andrew Kopp and a 2023 6th-round pick were traded to the New York Rangers in exchange for forward Morgan Barron, a conditional 2022 2nd-round pick, and a conditional 2022 or 2023 2nd-round pick, and a 2023 5th-round pick. So you're getting a conditional second and a conditional second, which could become 1st-round picks. I think if the Rangers make it to the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals, that becomes a 1st-round pick. Thoughts?
So the Rangers, I don't know. There's another trade that you can't really. It's just stupid, conditional fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
I just don't understand how you can say, hey, we're gonna give you this player, and if he does this, then we'll upgrade the pick. It's so stupid. It's either gonna be a 2nd or 1st. Do each either or. It's dumb. I just don't agree with it.
Well, I guess that's a fair statement. But as far as the trade goes for Andrew Kopp, I think because, in my opinion, I feel like this year alone the Rangers overachieved, and they're so confident in their abilities to be competitive for the Cup this year that they actually went in and blew up half of their assets for a guy who barely played for the New York Rangers, and they traded him to Winnipeg, and they also threw in conditional picks to go with it. And then bringing Andrew Kopp in, I think definitely will help the Rangers going forward in terms of a playoff run, because he can definitely put the puck in the net, and he's, he can skate really well, and he's got a good format to, play the puck at, stuff like that. But I feel like in general, though, like when you look at it from the perspective, it also brings in a lot of depth because the Rangers don't have a lot of key pieces on in their lineup on depth in terms of putting the puck in the net. And I think adding Andrew Kopp will definitely benefit it. But again, at the end of the day, depending on how he performs in the playoffs, those could become first-round picks for all we know.
Yeah, well, you know what? End of the day, Winnipeg wins the fucking trade. So,
So,
Yep.
So, what do you guys think of the trade before we move on to the good stuff?
I have to say, Winnipeg is stacking themselves up for the long term. So, I mean, it's just one of those trades. Is like I kind of fail to realize the logic for it, but I mean, Winnipeg getting the picks that they're getting, hey, that helps them out long term. I mean, the Rangers will build themselves at least for a short term playoff run. So, but still, long term, Winnipeg gets it.
yeah, but even if you look at it though, even if you fucking look at the trade itself, so 2 seconds could be a first.
Yeah.
What's the conditions? Is it
The
Rangers go past the first round, or
no? The condition of the picks is the second rounders become first round picks if the Rangers make the conference finals.
Okay, well, fuck.
Yeah, and the other one, that was a condition for either 2022 or 2023. If they make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, that also becomes a first round pick. So it's kind of like what San Jose
never mind. I changed my pick. The Rangers win. There's no fucking way they're getting the conference final or the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, if they do both, then the Rangers give up 2 first round picks.
Yeah, is that a fucking chance? The Rangers, if they get past the first round, I'll be surprised.
Yeah,
we'll find out. Come April or May, whatever it is. Sean, what do you think of the trade? Andrew Kopp to the New York Rangers.
I believe Winnipeg definitely got the W in this trade deal. So yeah, I think it's going to pay off for them real soon.
Yeah, it's another trade I'm not really sure of in terms of long term, but I definitely think right now the Rangers win that trade because they actually got an approved player. They got a proven player who can put the puck in the net and he's agile, so that definitely can work in their favor. So
plus you get like non-existent fucking hopes for the Rangers that have never happened in like 20 years.
Yeah, really. The Rangers will constantly underachieve.
Yeah, that's usually what they do. And trust me, I live in the area. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are Ranger fans, and they're all like, I'm not expecting much from them this year because it's the Eastern Conference itself is just too stacked. There's no chance for the Rangers to get anywhere near where they would need to be for those picks. So unless they beat like 2/3 of those teams, there is no fucking way that they are going to get to where they want to be.
Right, 100% agree. And actually, we're going to go into OT. So if you guys want to call in on the show, 929-205-6099 gets us on. Let's keep on talking trades.
Yep. And so what do you guys say? Should we jump to the NFL?
Well, let's actually hit one trade that and this is actually one that I think would be a great thing to talk about. So the Dandenov trade to the Ducks by the Golden Knights has been invalidated by the NHL.
Holy shit, that was a clusterfuck.
Dude, it's so stupid because if you know somebody has a no trade clause, how do you fucking trade them?
Yeah, seriously. And the worst part about this is when the Ottawa Senators traded him, they never asked Evgeny Dandenov about a no trade clause. So they said to him, okay, we're going to trade you to Vegas, but we're not going to mention you getting a no trade clause. So you have an option to pick of which teams you don't want to go to. And he said, and this came out, is apparently he said all 3 of the California teams between Anaheim, LA, and San Jose And Evgeny Danilov said no to all three of them because of state income taxes. So if it weren't for the state income taxes, he would have been traded to Anaheim, and I don't think he would have minded. But because he didn't want to pay the extra dollar, which I don't blame him for, to be honest, the trade got voided and it got blocked by the NHL because of Ottawa's own fuck ups, and Vegas had no choice but to embellish it.
Oh man.
Good gosh, what were they
It's
thinking?
just this is a sad story of what Eugene Melnick, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you can say that again.
And the worst part is Vegas tried to desperately trade his contract to Anaheim, and they knew full well that he didn't want to go there. And it's just like, oh, you don't want to go to Anaheim? Okay, we're going to file a lawsuit, basically. And it became a big fucking fiasco right afterwards. And then at the end of the day, the NHL looked at it and said, okay, well, he didn't have a no trade clause. And he basically said no, and you traded him there anyway. So, and plus you never asked him where he wanted to go and where he didn't want to go. So bottom line is we're going to reject this trade, and you are going to be stuck with him.
Well, plus I feel like they could have fought it, but they looked at it and they're just like, long term, doesn't matter if Dadonov goes anywhere. He's still going to be a shit player, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And the funny thing about this is too, and I just found this out an hour before the show, is Evgeny Dadonov, despite the fact the trade deadline is over, the Knights still have the right to trade him. But the catch is he cannot play for whoever trades for him until next season.
See, I'd trade him to like fucking Detroit or something.
Yeah.
Trade him to Winnipeg. They like to lose. Or I have a better one. Trade him to Arizona. That they like to lose too.
Oh God, Arizona's cleaning house too.
Hey, you know what? Just trade him to Buffalo. They like to lose too.
Listen, Buffalo's doing a lot better than people give them the credit for right now. I mean, so they're doing a lot better than people give them credit for. But Sean, what do you think about this whole fucking fiasco with Anaheim and Vegas and the whole Evgeny Dadonov thing?
Oh boy. Like, can I ask what the freak was Ottawa thinking? Like, holy crap, man.
That's shitty management.
Yeah, Melnick's been an idiot for so many years now.
Yeah, he's been like that for like 30 years. So,
yeah.
Fucking hell. I have never in my life have I ever seen a trade get botched this badly.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
yeah, it's got to be probably like one of the like 5 worst I've seen in the last like how many years.
It's just
Yeah.
the same though. It's as bad as like not telling Baker Mayfield that, you know, we're shopping Watson.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then we actually.
I cannot wait to talk about that. I'm so excited. Yeah, no.
Oh boy.
In just a moment. But I actually have one last thing I wanted to bring up, and then we'll go into the NFL. And apparently, Jonathan Tames might be looking to get out of Chicago now because he's even saying that the trades are absolutely disheartening, and he's completely uncertain about his future.
I'm convinced that he is definitely getting traded into a contender in the summer.
Just retire, dude. Just
I
retire.
better trade him to Nashville.
No, I'd say like trade him somewhere that he has a chance.
It was a joke, Adam.
Okay, well, trade him to fucking Montreal. Why not?
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so I think that's it for the NHL trade deadline because there was like
one last one I want to bring up because Adam will know about this one. But March 21st, the Carolina Hurricanes acquired Max Domi and Tyler Inamoto from the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange for defenseman prospect Aiden Hreshik, and the Florida Panthers received forward prospect Igor Korshakov and a 6th round pick in the 2022 draft.
See, this is another reason why the NHL does fucked up things, and they have the 3-team trades that come out as like, oh, this is the trade, and all of a sudden they're like, no, wait now. There's a 3rd team involved, and it's all a clusterfuck, and then all of a sudden, dude, Max Domi anywhere is a win. So, you know, Columbus, morons.
I botched that one.
You fucking morons, and now Max Domi's gonna go be dangerous somewhere else. So I don't know. The whole trade is a clusterfuck, but at least it worked. It wasn't like Eugene Melnick's fuck up. At least the trade actually went through. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about that trade other than it was a giant clusterfuck. Because Florida was only in there just to help out with the trade, with like financing and all that. And basically,
That's
the
all.
Jackets and the Canes both said, thank you for helping us out. So here's a free prospect and a free pick to go with it. And you can go on with your day.
Yeah.
So,
So,
in the-
Florida, and Carolina actually won because, like, why? Other than that, the Blue Jackets were just like got nothing in return. So
Exactly.
you know what?
And they
You know
lose
what's
the best
interesting?
player in that deal.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Because the only reason this trade even went to be a 3-team trade to begin with is I read the stats on this is Florida is paying 25% of the contract from Iamoto's contract, or if he came from, and Carolina is going to be. I'm sorry, Columbus is. Yeah, Florida is paying 25% of Inamoto's salary, which is coming from Florida to Carolina, and the Domi, his salary is being retained by 50% from Columbus, so they're going to be paying that. So both sides are basically saying, we're going to help you pay out this, deal financially. And sure enough, the deal went through, and Florida, like I said, because they were a big part of the salary cap dump for both these clubs, because it was a cluster without them. And sure enough, Florida, like I said, was gift wrapped a free prospect and a pick. And who knows, maybe Korshov could actually turn into something special if he's developed right. And from this stupidity and this clusterfuck of a trade, I don't think I don't see much of it happening, but I do think big picture wise, I definitely think Carolina wins it.
yeah, so like if you go 1, 2, 3, the Carolina, Florida, and Columbus, you're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
Columbus
So
lost miserably.
yeah, Sean, real quick, what do you think of the trade?
What can I say, man? Just a freaking mess. Like, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a big money dumping clusterfuck. But yes, speaking of clusterfucks, what do we say we jump into the NFL? What do you guys think?
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
And
Oh,
we got some
man.
breaking news for a trade that happened a little bit earlier today. So,
Well, let's save that for last. Let's save that for last, because there's actually more deals we got to talk about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go for it.
All right, so let's start over then. So, what was it? March 16th. It was Vegas, and did we talk about Sean on the last episode? I know Adam wasn't here, or he might have been. I don't remember. But did we talk about the Yannick Ngakoue trade?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, in the beginning of the free agency frenzy, the Colts and the Raiders made a trade in which sent the offensive end Yannick Ngakoue to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for cornerback Rock Ya-Sin going to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow.
I definitely think Indianapolis wins this trade easily.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Tom, what do you think?
I have to agree. Not much I can say on it. I just have to straight up agree on it.
Yeah. What about you, Adam? What do you think? Ngakoue for Rock Ya-Sin.
Okay, I didn't hear the trade. What was it?
All right. So it was between the Raiders and the Colts. The Colts are receiving defensive end Yannick Ngakoue, who's a fucking beast, going to Indianapolis from the Las Vegas Raiders in exchange for third-year cornerback Rock Ya-Sin.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess Indy wins that hands down.
Yeah. And on top of the funny thing about this trade was immediately after this trade happened, or before the trade happened, the Raiders signed Chandler Jones. So that was the funny thing about all that. So basically the trade happened to make room for Chandler Jones. And Yannick Ngakoue is going to get a great chance to play with the Colts going forward on that solid defensive line, playing with Darius Leonard. So I definitely think that it would definitely benefit the Colts long term. But the Raiders got a pretty decent shutdown corner to go with it. So the bottom line, it's not too shabby either when you think about it.
Yep.
Yeah. So next one, St. Patrick's Day, the 1 year where everyone thinks they're fucking Irish, but in reality, they're just there for the beer. This trade was a giant clusterfuck because we're going to talk about it right now. Probably the biggest trade, arguably one of the top 5 biggest trades of the offseason, is between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Green Bay Packers. And the deal is Devontae Adams was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Packers are receiving a 2022 first-round pick and a second-round pick in 2022.
Okay, all I hear is the little violin in the corner, Aaron Rodgers crying himself to sleep.
Oh my God, that's so true. Imagine committing to a monster deal for 4 years for over $200 million in guaranteed money, and yet a week later, your best wide receiver gets traded.
Yeah,
Fucking-
so he's still crying, dude. He's like, I feel like he's sitting in the corner masturbating with a razor blade at this point.
Oh, dude, absolutely. And plus, from the Raiders' perspective, the AFC West is getting stronger by the day. I mean, look at all the other moves that's being made. And then immediately after the trade, Devontae signed the 5-year deal worth about $141.25 million guaranteed. So that's a monster deal. So it's a 5-year extension for over $140 million, which is really freaking solid. I mean, how much was the guaranteed money? Does anybody remember?
Oh fuck! I think it was like I actually don't even remember. Under 100 million.
Yeah, something like that. Because like the numbers on the contract doesn't mean shit. What matters the most is the guaranteed money. That's usually what it matters. And Devontae Adams definitely deserves that money. I mean, having to play with Derek Carr in I think it was Fresno State, and those guys played together years ago when they were young, and then all of a sudden now they're on the Vegas Raiders together, and they're forming this super quiet super team to compete with teams like the Chiefs and the Broncos in the AFC West. But that's gonna be a fucking war zone next year in the AFC West with having Devontae Adams in the same division now. Holy crap!
Right,
Man.
So,
I can still hear Rodgers crying.
yeah, I definitely think the Raiders win that trade hands down. I mean, they're definitely getting the better player in the deal, but the Packers could end up flipping that first round pick for another wide receiver. As I've heard recently earlier that they might be trading for what's his face, DK Metcalf, but the Seahawks already told them no, you could fuck off. You're not going to get DK Metcalf. So he's out of the picture.
Either way, Devontae Adams is the better choice.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, he's a top 5 receiver in the league, so hands down. So no complaints there. I definitely think the Raiders win that trade overall, though. But does anybody else have an opinion about it before we move on to the next one?
Good job to the Raiders for making that happen.
No, I'm
sorry,
good.
Rodgers. If I was there, but I'd give you a hug.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give you your little safe space.
Yep. So
Show me on the doll where he touched you.
Yep. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. So the same day, which is funny, we're talking about the next trade, was on March 18th, which was an hour before the Brandon Hagel trade, which we talked about earlier on the show with him going to the Tampa Bay Lightning. 1 hour after that trade happens, boom! Headlines roll from Adam Schefter that the Cleveland Browns are acquiring quarterback Deshaun Watson along with a 2024 fifth-round pick. And the Texans are getting, in return, a 2022 first-round pick, a 2023 first-round pick, a 2024 first-round pick, a third-round pick in 2023, and a fourth-rounder in 2024. And on top of all that, the Cleveland Browns are also signing Deshaun Watson to a 5-year deal for over $230 million. Fucking hell.
Good gosh.
And on top of that, apparently one thing in the trade changed, and apparently the Texans are now going to get a bonus draft pick.
Yeah, I mentioned that. They got a 4th-round pick, and the Browns ended up getting the 5th with Deshaun Watson. But I know Adam has a lot to say about this trade. So I'm going to kick it off with Adam.
Okay. So, I think you all realized by now, yeah, I'm a Panthers fan. This whole fucking bullshit charade has been going on for like 2 years now. It'll be like, oh, we're going to get Deshaun Watson. Oh, we're going to get this. No, we get Sam Darnold instead. But here's my one perfect opinion on this is that in 2 years, or maybe even less, when Deshaun Watson's all disgruntled and wondering why is my team so shitty, and why do we suck so bad, and why do I suck so bad, and I know why, Deshaun. I'll tell you why. Because you pick money over a team that would have treated you a lot better, other than the fact that we didn't want to give up our whole farm for you because you're not worth what the fucking Browns paid, and the fact that you're making over $200 million and you actually you're past your fucking prime, you're injury prone, you're an absolute piece of shit, and you think the world owes you something. You know what? I'm happier than the pig and shit. The fact that the whole fucking era of him going to the Panthers and him going here and him going there. You know how many times in a run of the fucking last 2 weeks I looked at Bobby and said, "Please stop. I can't listen to one more fucking rumor about Deshaun Watson because I'm over it." I'm glad you're not part of the Panthers organization. I'm glad you're gone to a shit team. Your career will end and crash and burn, and I hope you fucking break your leg.
Wow.
Damn.
Damn.
Yeah. Hey Adam, how bad do you want the leg break to be? Do you want it to be like a Alex Smith leg break, or do you want to be like?
I want it so like it's hanging by a thread and you can turn it in circles.
Oh man.
My God. And the funny part about all this too is the only reason, like Adam said, the reason why the Browns even ended up getting Deshaun Watson was because the Browns simply said, "We're going to pay you full guaranteed money if you choose us," despite the fact that he said no to the Cleveland Browns. He was either going to be a New Orleans Saint or he was going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. And it turns out in the very last
here's
second,
the thing though. The thing is though, the Panthers offered him good money, but they weren't guaranteeing him 5 full years of fucking salary. They basically said, "No, we'll give you 3 years of guaranteed money, and that's it." And they stood their fucking ground. And of course, Watson's like, "Oh no, I'm worth 5 years because I'm a little bitch, and I think I'm worth way more than I'm actually overpaid by like $100 million."
yeah, and not to mention he's also a registered sex offender.
Yeah. You know what? Keep it classy, Cleveland. Keep it classy.
Yep. And the worst part is that the NFL is still investigating the allegations around him around 2 years ago with the 22 accounts. And if they can prove him that he is guilty, because there's no guarantee he gets suspended. And if he is suspended for some reason, there's a chance he could get suspended for no more than 6 games. If he's double guilty, then potentially he might get suspended for a whole year again. And in that case, the Browns just gave up 3 first-round picks to a guy who just got suspended for basically touching women inappropriately.
Oh, remember when we did that show and we were talking about how he would like fly people out from Atlanta to Houston for his massage parlor?
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about like the 30-something counts or whatever it was.
Yeah. I remember that.
He's just a genuine piece of shit.
Well, aren't you glad the Panthers didn't give up 3 first-round picks?
Dodge the bullet, and Kenny Pickett, here we come.
There you go.
Yep. And on top of all that, because the Panthers were smart, they're now the highest cap hit team in the NFL with $32 million lying around. Because then yesterday they just restructured $5.5 million of Christian McCaffrey's contract, which by that point is a guarantee he is not getting traded.
Yep. My boy ain't going nowhere.
See, I told you he wouldn't be going anywhere, although there was a chance, but I almost felt that he wasn't going to go anywhere. But good for you, Adam. I'm happy that you were able to keep him around.
He's the only reason I'm staying.
Well, let's find out down the road. Maybe Kenny Pickett can make you come. We'll find out.
Oh my God, that was a creepy comment.
Hey, this is coming from a guy who said if I were gay, he would be my husband.
Oh my.
Well, no, I also said like you have a small hand, so make my dick look bigger.
Now, let me ask you this. What if the Browns, I mean, not the Browns, what if the Panthers, because there's a chance that Baker Mayfield might get cut, what if they somehow were to claim him without giving up assets?
They already said they don't want him.
Fair enough. And the funny thing about the Browns, too, is not only are the Browns paying for a registered sex offender, and not only did they pay him all that buttload of money, Odell Beckham Jr. was reported earlier today that he wanted to go back to the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, yeah.
They're gonna like you know why?
After winning a Super Bowl.
You know why? Because they're gonna start like a whole inappropriate like club.
Yeah. The touchy feeling to go with it. Fucking Cleveland. If he wants to go back to the Browns, it just further proves that it wasn't OBJ that wanted out from the team. It was the fact that Baker Mayfield was the issue.
Right. And and the way that Baker Mayfield found out that Deshaun Watson was coming to the team, oh my God.
They never told him. That was the problem. The Browns never told him that they were pursuing him, because at least from the Atlanta Falcons perspective, which we'll get to in a bit, at least from their perspective, at least they told Matt Ryan, hey, we're going to pursue Deshaun Watson. I just hope you're prepared for what's to come if we get him. And he's like, okay, cool. So I want to be traded regardless. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. So,
dude, he found out from Twitter. His own fucking management didn't tell him. He found out from Twitter.
The fucking Browns, dude. Like, it's the most Brownsy thing to do, is to not tell your starting quarterback who you're supposed to rely on as your franchise guy. All of a sudden, then you tell them, no, we're going to get Deshaun Watson, and you're not going to be part of our plans going forward. So the Cleveland Browns themselves are just a fucking shit show. I don't care that they have Deshaun Watson. I don't care if they ended up adding so much talent. The only reason that people want to play for that fucking franchise to begin with is because of a star quarterback. Other than that, nobody wanted to go to the Cleveland Browns, period.
Right.
Well, here's the benefit from all this situation, though. We got a lot more Bills fans now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh. If you have been on, oh gosh, if you have seen the reactions on Twitter, whew.
They're like, we don't want to be Browns fans anymore. We want to join the Bills Mafia. They're actually legit.
They're like, get me the fuck out of Cleveland. I mean, if I were a girl living in the city of Cleveland right now, I'd be scared shitless right now. Think about it. You have Deshaun Watson and you have Kareem Hunt, who are both criminals at that point. So, I mean, Browns do Brownsy things, like I normally said earlier. So it is what it is, but whatever. If the Browns want to pay that price and be shit and mediocre, fine by me.
Yeah, and that was a big FU to Baker Mayfield too, because Mayfield actually got him in the playoffs for the first time in God knows how long.
Yeah, really.
Dude, he's gonna go somewhere and stick it to him real good. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he does, because I think Baker has a chance to be decent if you give him talent. But the problem is the Browns took that away from him with OBJ's drama and then Jarvis Landry causing drama. So I don't know if it's Baker or it's the fact the Browns management just fucking sucks. We have no clue.
But I feel too like the reason the Panthers are out on Mayfield is because I read on their actual Twitter feed that basically they don't want to get involved with the drama that comes with the whole thing, right? They
With the Browns.
With the Browns and Deshaun Watson and all that shit. They want to be involved.
I don't blame them, to be honest. I mean, I like what Carolina's doing with the approach, and you said it earlier. They were interested in Matt Corral from Ole Miss, and they're scouting him along with Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett. So basically, the direction the Panthers are going in right now, they're trying to draft a quarterback, and that's the direction that sounds like it's going in.
Well, plus Matt Corral, he did the one thing no other quarterback did: the standing still throw.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They liked it. They liked the fact that he stand his ground, basically standing still throw. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, they do that quite often with any rookie QBs. They want to test the player to see if they can, throw the ball with inside the pocket and run with outside the pocket, and that's what you need.
He shot it, dude. He if you watch on the Panthers Twitter, he shot the ball fucking 60 yards standing still.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think with the recent mistakes they made last year, I think they're going to learn this year. And I said this last year, they should have drafted a quarterback in the first round, but they went with J.C. Horn, who I think is going to be a stellar player when he comes back from his injury because he's recovering from his ACL tear. But once he comes back, and if they re-sign Stephon Gilmore, that secondary is going to be solid. I can guarantee you that. But
Gilmore will be back. Gilmore will be back.
I hope so, man. I think he deserves the money. I mean, they have the money to pay him, so do it. There's no excuse, Carolina. You have the money for it. Anyway, so the next trade that happened, and I felt kind of good about this one because it actually impacted the free agent market, was with Allen Robinson, who signed a massive deal with the Rams over the week and became an expandable, was Robert Woods, who formerly played for the Bills. And he got traded to the Tennessee Titans in exchange for a 2023 sixth-round pick. Any thoughts on the trade?
Well,
It's gonna
not
be
bad
tough.
on both ends.
Okay, fair enough. What about the one with Case Keenum going to the Bills for a 7th-round pick?
Yeah, Bills got him for like nothing.
It's
Yeah,
a steal.
nothing.
It's a steal. If you look at it, it's like going to Walmart and seeing that like T-bone steaks are on sale and you get it for half price.
Yeah, the manager's special.
Yeah. And plus, they also restructured, I think, like $3.5 million of his contract. So they gave the Bills a little bit more money to play with. So I think that's pretty smart on their end. But good job on the Bills, though, for doing all that. And
We
that
got
was
Matt
just,
Barkley back.
Yeah,
yep. Matt Barkley's back too, so that's huge. But I don't know if he'll make it out of training camp, but we'll find out down the road.
right.
But
Either way, they got 2 good backup QBs they can work with.
absolutely, no doubt about that. Speaking of fucking carousels, I honestly think the whole reason we're in this shit show to begin with, and when I say shit show, not literally, I mean as of like why everything is so fucking exciting every other day now because of something magical happening. I think this is the most exciting offseason I've ever been a part of in my life for any NFL fan, basically, whether if you're new or in your middle of your term or whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, I think that's pretty unique. But the trade I think that really made a big benefit was the one on Monday between the Atlanta Falcons and the Indianapolis Colts, where they traded longtime quarterback Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft.
It's a steal. Indianapolis wins, hand down.
Yeah,
Hands down.
I agree.
Yeah, and is a much better quarterback than Wentz ever was.
Yeah, I mean,
Carson Wentz. My God, you are an absolute piece of dog shit.
yeah. And the funny thing about that 3rd-round pick was that was the pick they got from the Washington Commanders in the trade for Carson Wentz. So they basically flipped it, Carson Wentz, into Matt Ryan.
Yeah, so you're gonna get a more reliable quarterback in Matt Ryan, even though he's like, old. But
Yeah. And the worst part about this trade from the Falcons' perspective is they now have to take on a dead cap hit of $40.5 million.
Oh, jeez.
yeah, so much for that Watson bullshit, eh?
Yeah,
Yep.
Atlanta
The
got
whole
smoked on that trade.
Yep. I think it's from like even before that when they Falcons told Matt Ryan, hey, we're looking at Deshaun Watson before they were even contemplating all these teams. I think it was to the point of sense where Matt Ryan's like, you know what? If this is the direction they want to go, I respect that. But I think it's time for me to move on from Atlanta anyway. So I want to be traded to a team that would give me the best chance to win. And honestly, the Colts were the only team that really to give him the job. I mean, and that's just pretty damn obvious what the Colts were able to do.
Dude, in the end, though, if you look at it, basically 2 teams burned bridges with both their starting quarterbacks to get a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like they kind of fucked each other equally because the Browns get Watson that, is probably going to hurt 2 games in. And you have Matt Ryan leaving, going to Indy, and Atlanta's fucked. And they're $40 million in the hole because of it. So all over one guy.
Yeah.
That that's an absolute piece of shit. So I don't get it. You burn bridges with your quarterback.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. And not only that, too, with this whole situation, the Falcons are also going to be looking at a quarterback as well, to the point where just for the time being, they actually signed Marcus Mariota to a 2-year deal with about $14 million. And Mariota was a 1st-round pick. I think he was like 2nd overall in 2015 behind Jameis Winston. So I think for Mariota, for him to get a starting job for the time being, I think this is a good move for the Falcons because they desperately need the help for the time being. And it's pretty clear what they're doing. They're going to be going into rebuilding mode very, very soon. And granted, I loved watching the Atlanta Falcons when they were good with Julio Jones and all that. But I just feel at this point that era had to be gone a long time ago. And I feel like trading Matt Ryan, I think, was a huge benefit for Matt Ryan himself, not really for the Atlanta Falcons, because they have to still pay $40 fucking million for like next 2 years to pay off his contract. But for the short-term frame, though, I definitely think Indianapolis wins that trade because they're getting a reliable quarterback who knows the system, knows the playbook, and all that shit. So I definitely think that it could benefit him for the short-term being, and the Colts could be competitive for a little while.
Yeah, it's an upgrade for the Colts. I mean, straight up. I mean, Wentz just sucks. I mean, we've talked about that a million times on the show. But yeah,
Yeah.
Wentz is absolute ass.
Well, yeah, it's basically a quarterback carousel in Indianapolis. I mean, what did they have since what? They've had like 5 quarterbacks now. They've had, let's think here. They had Andrew Luck. They had Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
They had Phillip Rivers. They had Carson Wentz, and now they have Marcus Mariota. Oh no, sorry, Matt Ryan. Excuse me. I was thinking of the Falcons for a second, but no, the Colts had 5 QBs in 5 seasons. Like literally, like what the fuck?
I know.
It's not a quarterback trade, but can I interest you in a type?
Yeah, so it's fucking crazy, dude. But so does anybody have any comments before we get to the last trade?
No, straight up. I mean, hey, sorry, Atlanta. You should have maybe tried to get a QB a little bit sooner than you did.
Yeah,
Yep.
they should have thought of that. Yeah, is Adam still with us?
He is muted right now.
Oh, you. Yeah, because we're about to get to the last one, which is right now. Let's talk about the trade that made huge waves across the NFL, shall we, boys?
Oh,
yeah,
Let's go.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
go.
Daddy. Yeah, Daddy.
Let's do
So
this.
freak.
Yeah. So the question is, how did this all come about? And of course, for anybody who has been paying attention, is that Tyreek Hill was traded earlier today from the Kansas City Chiefs. And he apparently demanded $75 million from the Kansas City Chiefs for 5 seasons. And the Chiefs offered it to him. And to that point, he still said no. So talks have stalled. And throughout the day, I think it was like around 10 o'clock, that there was talks of a potential trade in place for Tyreek Hill. And Adam Schefter was like, oh, Tyreek Hill has demanded a trade. Oh, he has requested a trade. Or, oh, teams are, his representatives are looking for teams to deal with and stuff like that. And there were already 2 contestants. One was the Miami Dolphins, and the other one was the New York Jets. And the question was, which team was going to get Tyreek Hill and which one will benefit the most? And sure enough, the winner of that fiasco was the Miami Dolphins. And what they gave up for him, I think, is fair. And Kansas City, I think, wins that trade for the long term. But to be fair with Tyreek, he's in his prime. So we'll see what they gave up. So the Dolphins are getting wide receiver Tyreek Hill, and the Chiefs are receiving a 2022 first-round pick, which is pick number 29. They have a 2022 second-round pick. They have a 2022 fourth-round pick, and they got another fourth-round pick in 2023 and a sixth-round pick in 2023. So let's go around the table. So Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. Thoughts?
Well, the Chiefs are definitely getting good compensation in return because that second round pick is number 50. So, I mean, usually when you have like the first two rounds of the draft, you got some good compensation there. So that's like the first thing I would say. Now, here's the other thing that the Dolphins did on their end. So they ended up giving Hill immediately a 4-year, $120 million extension with $72.2 million guaranteed, and including $52.535 million at the time that he signs the contract, according to his agent Drew Rosenhaus. So basically, what happens? Tyreek Hill, you made your money. You just became the highest paid wide receiver ever in the NHL. Or NFL.
Holy fuck, the NHL.
No, the NFL. But holy God, to be the highest paid wide receiver, oh man, Tyreek Hill, you just made some serious coin today, my man. But
yeah, and the guaranteed money too is $72.2 million for within that span.
That's insane.
Like holy crap.
What did fucking DJ Mortis get? 61 million, but he guaranteed 40 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was like 4 years. I think around like $43 million, and I would think he was guaranteed like 20 something. It's a pretty big gamble. But the difference between that and DJ Moore and Tyreek Hill is he's no Tyreek Hill. That's the big difference.
Right.
And I'm not saying DJ Moore isn't good. He's amazing.
Don't you shit on my boy. I'll fuck your shit up.
Fair enough. But
here's another interesting thing that came out earlier also on ESPN. So if the Miami Dolphins would have not accepted the trade for Tyreek Hill, the Jets had a trade in place also, but the Jets would have not thrown in a first-round pick.
yeah, the thing with that, and I read this earlier, is that Tyreek Hill, both the Chiefs, accepted both offers from the Jets and the Dolphins. but the guy who made the biggest decision was Tyreek Hill. He was the one that made the determination of where he wanted to go. And he chose Miami, honestly. And I think for me personally, I think it worked beneficially well for him because there's no state income taxes in Florida. That's number one. Number two, he lives there in the offseason. So for him to move out from Kansas City to Miami every year, I think benefits him from time traveling or from travel of time or whatever. So he could just stay right at home in Miami and he could just train with the Dolphins. And on top of all that, his ego, in my opinion, ruined the Miami Dolphins long term. Because if you look at it from the ground up, the Dolphins are paying a hefty price for the best wide receiver, arguably in the top 5, and the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL now. And then on top of all that, he's not getting thrown to Patrick Mahomes anymore. This is a big year for both the Dolphins and the Chiefs. For the Chiefs, it's going to determine whether it was Tyreek Hill that made Patrick Mahomes or Patrick Mahomes made Tyreek Hill. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be a real big determination because you have to understand, you're going from Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, to Tua Tagovailoa, who has to prove himself more. And with all these weapons he's got around him, this is it for Tua. There is no excuse for him anymore. He's got Tyreek Hill. He's got Jalen Waddle. He's got Chase Edmonds. He's got Mike Gesicki. They build a strong offensive line around him. So the Dolphins, to me, I think could be a fringe playoff team if they're healthy. I'm not sure they entirely guaranteed on if whether it would work out in their favor, but it's a good turning point for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Man, not even Tua can fuck this up.
Right.
You can't get the ball to fucking Tyreek Hill. You shouldn't be in the NFL.
No. And the problem with Tua is he doesn't have the arm strength like Mahomes or Allen do. He can only throw approximately to 30, 40 yards. You can't throw 50, 60, 70-yard passes. He can't do that because his arm doesn't allow him to do so.
But dude, come on. Even if he can only throw 30 yards, that's Tyreek Hill's fucking sweet spot, dude. Like, I feel like anything between 30 and 50 yards, Tyreek Hill's gonna grab in. So it's not like it matters.
Yeah.
The yard.
Yeah, look what Tyreek Hill did against the Bills, like in both cases over the last 2 years. I mean, you hit him like 25, 30 yards, or you go like around 40 or so. That's like money for him.
So if he fucking gets even if he gets it at 30 yards, he's still running 10 more yards.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, he's still getting 10 more yards.
Yeah, and he's a tough guy to bring down. But here's another thing I would throw in there too. I can see why he wouldn't want to go to the New York Jets. Well, of course, you cover the state income taxes, but the New York Jets re-signed Joe Flacco for 1 more year.
Yeah, so you're going to an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Or you go to Miami where you might have a chance. So
yeah. I mean, the whole thing with the Jets
already live there. Plus, you already live there. You have all your shit there. Plus the women are hotter than fucking Miami. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think even outside of all that, I think the Dolphins right now have a better foundation going forward in terms of assets and players in their system than what the New York Jets currently have right now.
Of course they do.
Miami's got some good players down there, so.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think if the trade, I think, would benefit the Dolphins long-term if Tua was not the quarterback.
Well, I feel like you're speaking as a scared Buffalo fan because you're scared of what Tyreek Hill is going to do to you.
I'm not scared of Tyreek Hill. I'm just saying because a lot of Dolphins fans are saying the same thing I am right now. Honestly, I mean, I like a good competition. I don't want the AFC East just to be boring. I mean, I think that's anybody's dream, but I like a little competition. I want Miami to be competitive, and they're the closest thing to being the most competitive team in the whole fucking division. New England sucks. The Jets are just the Jets. So the Dolphins are at least trying to be competitive, and adding Tyreek Hill, I think, definitely helps them long term. But the problem is that it's not like in the NHL where you get 5 years to prove yourself of your worth. In the NFL, you only have a certain window of time to prove yourself. I mean, Josh Allen, I remember when they traded for Stephon Diggs, everyone said, oh, Josh Allen sucks, and he's going to have to prove it if, with Stephon Diggs. Oh, he's not going to like Josh Allen because he overthrows his receiver like Kirk Cousins. And I'm just sitting there thinking, well, I'm hoping that's the case because I want them to prove it wrong. But, I mean, I want to succeed, but having a guy like Tyreek Hill, I definitely think could benefit him. But he has to really build up that arm strength in order for him to ball it out with Tyreek because that's what he's designed to do.
Right. All right. Memo to Tua. Why don't you go to GMC, get some protein, get some supplements, get all that other stuff, hit the weight room, strengthen your arm, and maybe you can actually throw a few extra yards.
Well, you know what? Here's my tip for the matter. I feel like if you like, beat the meat a little bit often, it builds up forearm strength. Especially in the right hand. You can go left or right, but I'm pretty sure you throw right. So focus on the right hand, and you'll get more arm strength that way.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I was talking to Brittany about this before I went back to work, because it was
Well,
trade
but
happened during my lunch
masturbation?
break.
You're
Yeah.
talking about
And
masturbation with Brittany?
yeah, we talk football all the time, which is funny.
No,
But,
I thought you said masturbation. Sorry.
No. So what I was saying was before, I was like, the trade happened on my lunch break, and I was talking to her throughout my time about the trade, and she's like, I think Miami benefited really well in the trade, but it really comes down to if Tua can actually produce at the rate he's projected to be, because you have to understand, Tua was highly rated when he came out of college from what was it, Alabama? Yeah. So
Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama, that's right. So for him to get Tyreek Hill, I think really helps the development of the team. But at the same time, the Dolphins are under the microscope now, basically Tua. But I think on one hand, you have to deal with his bullshit twice a year, which I'm not in favor of that. But I don't know if Tyreek will be the same player as he was on Kansas City. But on the other hand, it leaves the Bills' Super Bowl chances to win it is wide open. And Kansas City got weaker with that trade, in my opinion.
Well, but yeah, if you look at it on the other end, let's see how good Mahomes is without a star wide receiver.
Yep. And what are his receivers now? Juju Smith-Schuster, Nicole Hartman, and a bunch of other bums that nobody's heard of. Because Byron Pringle went to Chicago. DeMarcus Robinson went to the Raiders. So it's like the Chiefs have only so much they could do. They have Travis Kelce and they have Juju. That's it.
Well, Juju will probably be his go-to guy, but like at the same time, he ain't Tyreek Hill. So
exactly,
I don't know.
I mean, we're dealing with the fastest duo in the league with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's a bit intimidating for any NFL opponent, not named the Buffalo Bills. But the Bills' defense will still be there because Miami has a huge obstacle to go through with Buffalo in that division because they got to play them twice a year every year to that point. And, like I said, the Dolphins, they got a lot more cut out for them. But at the same time, adding Tyreek is huge to the rebuild because they desperately needed a star wide receiver, and they finally got it. So now the question becomes, where does Devontae Adams go from here? Because at this point, with Tyreek on the team, it almost makes him expandable.
I
don't
know.
Yeah.
It's a good question to ask yourselves here because I think go ahead.
No, I was saying it's a good question because, I mean, there's a ton of possibilities here.
Mm-hmm. I could see Seattle trading for him. I could see Green Bay trading for him. I could see Indianapolis trading for him. So there's a lot of possibilities, but who knows, man? But at the end of the day, though, I firmly believe, depending on how this pans out, I personally think the Dolphins for the short term win the deal, but the long term deal, what Kansas City got in return, I think they win it long term because who knows what they use with those picks. They could end up drafting another fucking Tyreek for all we know.
Yeah, very true. And actually, it's like, well, thanks Kansas City for doing that because you might have just helped our Super Bowl chances, especially with the defense we've been building up in the last few weeks.
Right?
Yeah. So
I am loving the crushing now.
Yeah. So for that, I'm going to take Kansas City as the winner.
They got
I'm gonna say Miami just for the fact that Sam Darnold could step on the field and hit Tyreek Hill. So I feel like even long term, when it comes to hurting the fucking your division, I feel like Tyreek Hill is gonna be hurting on you again. So.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if they get the KC version of Tyreek or they might get a shittier version of Tyreek. We'll see. We'll find out this year who makes the determination, whether it's Patty Mahomes or was Tyreek Hill. It really comes down to those guys because I think at the end of the day, currently the Chiefs are looking like big fucking losers right now because the AFC West is stacked. You have the fucking Raiders coming up, you have the Chargers coming up, and you have the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson. So the AFC West is going to be a dogfight with everybody in that division.
It's actually nice that they're going to finally actually be a legitimate division for a change.
Yeah, for once. But I think eventually,
not at 500, the whole division at 500.
Yeah, but I would love to see a Buffalo-Miami rivalry again.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Definitely.
I think it would be good for the NFL because they haven't had a heated rivalry in over 30 years.
Right. And you have to kind of figure too. I mean, KC and the Bills will still be a big rivalry, especially now with Mahomes and Allen over the last few years. So,
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, but I think though, like I said, I think long term, I think the Chiefs win that trade. But for the short term time being, for the next 4 years, if he lives up to his standards, I think Miami wins that trade.
Yep.
So, and I think that's about it for right now until we get more trades down the road. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too.
I think we hit a lot of good stuff, and then of course some of the things I'm thinking of just right before we wrap up. I mean, wasn't here last week, but man, I love that Von Miller signing.
Oh yeah, that was sexy. That was sexy.
Oh, that was epic.
I loved it.
Like
best signing we've had in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, if anything, there's no negatives to any part of that trade because if you look at it, dude, he's going to bring everything you need plus more for the money you're paying for him, guaranteed money. Oh, It's a steal, dude. It's a steal.
Oh yeah.
And huge loss for LA.
Oh gosh.
And the fact is, I mean, Von Miller wants to be here, so that's a big thing.
And here's the thing: the Rams.
Plus,
no,
go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Like the thing is, the Rams were doing everything they could to keep Von Miller on the team. Keep that in mind.
Right, and he still turned him down.
Yeah.
I mean,
and by the way, LA, we stole your fucking punter. Thank you from Carolina fan.
Fuck. And you also stole Austin Corbett and a bunch of other guys from the Rams too. So there you have it.
Yeah. But I gotta say, I mean, that's one of the best signings the Bills have done in years. I mean, in terms of bringing in a free agent and just the stuff that Von Miller is going to be able to bring, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, now the Bills finally addressed their edge rush. So that's what they needed. I mean, you've got a good tandem between Edmonds and Von Miller. That's a scary tandem to think about.
And not to mention, you also have Gregory Rousseau and AJ Epinesa at the other end of the spectrum as well.
Yeah, I mean,
plus
stacked on that.
Plus, dude, like just look at what Von Miller brings into the locker room, dude.
Yeah,
just his guidance in the locker room is enough. Plus, he brings whatever else he has, right? It's to me, like any person that says this is a bad trade, no, it's too much money and this bullshit.
It's not a bad trade at all.
You're misinformed and you don't understand football at all.
Yeah, and on top of all that, they also brought in key low veteran free agents like Jamison Crowder into the team as well, which I think was a really nice addition to replace Cole Beasley. But then again, this is not the same Buffalo. This is not the same old Buffalo Bills that you would just beg for players to come. They're actually bringing in legit talent to play with Josh Allen and to play with all these guys. You know what I'm saying? Like it's insane where the Bills are at this point.
Yeah, and look at the signing how they brought in OJ Howard from Tampa. I mean, now you've got two legitimate tight ends with him and Dawson Knox.
Yep. So it's exciting.
I mean, that's huge. I love the fact that Jordan Phillips is back. That's going to help the defensive line. So that's a nice addition. I mean, Siren Neal is going to be back. So he's back for another 3 years. Shaq Lawson comes back for 2 years.
I'm pretty sure they all signed 1-year deals.
Actually, NFL.com, it's a 2-year contract.
Shaq Lawson got a 2-year.
Yeah. Yeah, Daquan Jones got a 2-year. Tim Settle got a 2-year, $9 million deal.
Von Miller got 6. Deal.
Yeah. Siren Neal, 3 years. Jordan Phillips, 1 year.
James Crowder got 1.
Yeah.
Like think about this real quick. For the most part in recent years, like like in past years, like the Bills, Buffalo was the team that pretty much nobody wanted to play for. And now in the spot that we're in these days, we got guys like Von Miller and freaking James and freaking Tim Settle that want to play for Buffalo.
Yeah, Roger Saffold, really nice position at offensive guard.
Oh, for real.
Well,
like
of course,
like you got to give props to the big baller Bean and McDermott, man. They completely changed the culture for the franchise, and look how much it's paying off.
Give credit to your fucking stud of a quarterback. That's why you want to play for Bills.
Well, yeah, that's why Von Miller wanted to come in the first place, was to play with Josh Allen.
Yeah, straight up fearless, and he's just getting better and better.
Yeah, and the nice thing, and I don't know if anybody saw that video on the Buffalo Bills YouTube channel, and there was a video they did for like 24 hours with Von Miller, and it was like a 10-minute segment, basically.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep, and he was talking about how, and I forget one of the people that was talking to Von Miller, and he's like, hey, the narrative here is that Buffalo lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, and people just shit on the Bills for that. And it's like, we'll get over it eventually. And you could tell his presence alone and I love the confidence he brings to the locker room and he brings onto the field. He's going to not only be a veteran voice for the team, but he's also going to be a coach, because there's clips of Von Miller literally coaching these young linebackers when he was with the Broncos of how to play in a certain position and how to, settle off into attacking the quarterback.
He's a role model, dude. He's what those young players look up to.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
And on top of that, don't be surprised. He's going to probably be a defensive captain.
Oh, man.
I mean, be a team captain.
I mean,
he deserves it.
Oh,
yeah,
for real.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
No questions.
Yeah,
no questions asked about that.
I love when Denver drafted him originally when he first came into the league, and he was just one of those players I've really liked his entire career. And he's just one of those people. I have a lot of respect for what he's done in the game, and he's one of the best at what he does. And the fact that we've got him, and the fact now I think we're finally in that spot where we can have that conversation. Yes, we are legit contenders, and I could see it happening within the next 3 years.
Well, yes. I think they can win it this year. I mean, based on what happened earlier with Tyreek Hill and all that shit, you know what I mean? Like, it's very possible the Bills could win the Super Bowl, because trading Tyreek Hill left the window wide open for Buffalo to win it this year.
Yeah, Kansas City screwed themselves on that one. And Miami is, I mean, as much as they have some good players, they're not there, and they're not going to make a run at it.
Well, you don't know that for a fact until after.
I don't know. That's a big if.
That is a big if. Like, Kansas City is going to be good, but I don't know if they'll be as good as when they won the Super Bowl almost 3 years ago.
Right.
Juju ain't Tyreek Hill. I'll say it again, and he's not going to carry the team like Hill did. So, I don't know. I can't see Mahomes doing. I don't see a repeat of like the Super Bowl game between Bills and the Chiefs like that round. I don't see it happening again.
I don't either, but who the hell knows? I mean, it's very possible that we could be heading down that stretch, but I don't know. I think Buffalo is going to have an easier path this year, even despite of all the circumstances. I think they're going to have an easier path to go to the dance this year and win it, because everybody on that team is determined, especially Von Miller. He's very determined to bring a championship to Buffalo. And the thing, like I said earlier, you can tell with just his presence, he's very confident. And he even said, even if they're going to win a Super Bowl, even with or without me, but I wanted to be a part of it. And I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Right.
So good for Von, man. And that's the thing I love. He's not like any other player who just says, yeah, I'm going to just sign because I want to be here. When in reality, they came for the money. That's what Tyreek Hill did. He only went to the Dolphins for the money.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. So outside of that, though, I am really, really excited what the Bills bring going forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's some big upgrades, and we were already in pretty good shape. But I mean, the upgrades that we've made in this offseason so far, and we're not even done with the offseason. We still have the whole draft to talk about.
We still got the draft next month.
Yep, and trades could still happen from now to the draft. I mean, I said to Adam the other day, I said, hey, the Panthers might very well trade for another positional player that's not a quarterback. I said that to him a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Well, we got the money, so why not use it?
Exactly. You have the highest cap of any team, even over Seattle and Indianapolis. by over like $1 billion or $2 million or something like that. But they're in that prime position. So overall, though, I really like what the Bills brought in this year. I really do.
Yeah, here it's an exciting offseason. I can tell you that. I mean, a lot of things to look forward to.
Absolutely. So I think that's about it as far as comment goes about the whole thing.
Last thing, Matt Hawk, you deserve that pay cut.
Yeah. So it is what it is. But yeah, so overall, I'm excited about the season going forward.
Yeah, same here. Same here. And this has got to be one of the most fun off seasons we've seen in a while.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
Hashtag keep pounding.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, what we'll do is, of course, everyone that was watching, thanks for being on. We appreciate that, and of course, we'll be back next week. So for everybody here, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time.
Well, Bills.
Buffalo After Dark is an H&H Studio production and is produced in partnership with Horns & Hooves Entertainment.